Welcome back to the Props and Playmakers podcast, episode number 10, where cousins collide, codes get cracked, and culture gets called out. We've got a special grand final review for you today, breaking down all the action from an epic grand final, so let's get into it. What's up, bro? Let's just address the elephant in the room straight away. How does it feel to be a premiership winner?
Oh, it feels absolutely amazing, man. What a performance from both the girls and the guys. Just awesome games across the board this week. We've covered it sort of off the potty already, but just the hype around that game, weren't they just absolute nail biters?
Yeah, man, it was crazy, bro. I sort of felt like it was a real different grand final, this one. Where it was, usually you'll see two really great defensive teams. And don't get me wrong, these two teams are great defensive teams in their own right. But I think when I think about the Broncos, I think about the Storm, I think about crazy attacking players, good spines, and yeah, didn't they deliver? Like, it was very high scoring.
Yeah, it was. And with saying that, I believe on one of the NRL shows a couple of weeks ago, they brought up the stats for over the season. The Melbourne Storm and the Broncos both attack and defence. Now, Broncos, I think they were fifth in defence. Melbourne Storm were actually second, but Broncos and Melbourne, they were both top four in the attack for the season. And yeah, like you said, it just made for an absolutely crazy scoring game, didn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it sort of played out very similar to how some of the other games have throughout the final series for the Broncos. I think they just seem to be a side that loves to chase points. Like, I feel like you're more confident in them getting a win when they're behind than when they're in front.
Yeah, well, look, it seems that way, especially this season. Like, I've sort of, as a Broncos supporter, never really liked it when we're sitting just 4 or 6 points in front, sort of thing, and we've got to hold the lead. I've always, I guess, had more faith in them when we're chasing that last minute win or whatever. And it was definitely, I guess, a credit to their attack and their willingness to dig deep. How far they've come back from behind to secure that win.
Yeah, and they had some adversity in the game. They lost Renault to a calf injury, and then a little while later they lose Benny Hunt to a bad concussion. And I thought there's a real classy moment there from Walshy where he come up, and I think Paps might have been in the vicinity as well. But that duty of care that they had towards a teammate or whatever, and I just thought it was real classy. And in that moment just there, I just felt like Walshy, he just had that attitude. It reminds me of that that Thanos trending sound, fine, I'll do it myself. And he just took the game by the scruff of the neck, and, I was very confident.
Yeah. And in that moment, it showed great camaraderie and leadership, the way he sort of just took him in and pat him on the back and protected him and said, "You've done well, mate. Good game. You've done well. You've done all you can. Now give it to me from here, and I'll make sure I do you proud."
Yeah. And he definitely did, man. I mean, honestly, there's probably not enough words that we can say about that performance. And, I mean, it's very hard because of the recency bias of it all. But, I mean, looking at it, man, I find it very hard to find a dominant performance like that individually in as many grand finals as I've watched recently. And probably the closest that comes to mind was Cleary in 23. But you've also got to remember that was only a 20 or so minute period. Like, this was Walsh was dominating from the word go, and that try he scored, like, that was just something special.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I thought the exact same thing. It was a performance rivaling Nathan Cleary's. Like, as you said, it was probably one of the best performance in any game, let alone a grand final in 20 years of football that I can remember back. It was, yeah, they're just as we sort of spoke after the game on the phone, the way he just took on that line there at one stage, it just zigged and zagged and just went, right, I'm just going to score myself, and went straight through the centre there. It was, what? How can you compare that? Like, it's no words can't do it justice.
For sure, and I think you really he's really underestimated how strong that is to go through the Melbourne Storm middle of the defense. Like, this is not him just scoring a try on the edge where he's just beating a defender. Like, this is beating like 5 defenders and using strength and speed and footwork to like beat these guys. Like, I mean, I just, like it honestly, it gave me chills up the back of my spine when I seen that try, because it was just, like, it's been to see the pressure that he would have had on him going into that game, like, I mean, obviously he's a polarizing figure. People love him, people hate him. And I think, he had the whole of Brisbane on his back, and, for him to take that pressure and rise to the occasion. And I mean, some of the moments he had within the game, like, I mean, we'll break a couple of them down, but, I think he's known for his attack, but I think, the other night he really showed the work that he's put into his game off the ball. Defensively, he was just amazing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. His defence on the night was incredible, wasn't it? Not only did he run down Pappenhausen on the outside there, but he also, another game-saving play, when he just absolutely cut him in half towards the sort of the inside edge of the field when Pappenhausen stepped back inside on a bit of broken play. And yeah, just some of the game-saving plays that he made in that game. I personally, I mean, it's a team effort. It was always going to be a team effort, but it's pretty hard to say if Reece Walsh wasn't on their field there. I don't think we were walking away with the premiership this year.
No, that's for sure. It showed how classy he was on the field, and definitely he had a few mates with him. It was a team effort, but I was really impressed with Ezra Mam when he got injected into the game too. And again, I thought we know Ezra Mam is a very attacking player, but some of the defense that he showed up with, there was a shot that he put on I think it was Will Warbrick, and he hit him with everything. And it reminded me of old Chrissy Sando when he used to get in there and do the shoulder charges on the big boppers, like, I mean, it's quite a size difference between Mam and some of the, like, he's not like the biggest guy, like, he's strong, but, him getting in there and throwing his shoulder around like that, like, just as a forward, that must, G him up thinking, oh, here's the 5'8" out here smashing guys,
Yeah, and he's done it consistently throughout the year. Like, I think he's very underestimated because of his size there, and some of the big guys, they're just not ready for it. And he gets in under the ribs and just drives in, gets the shoulder on the ball, and forces the error a lot of the time. It's really good to see, and yeah, you're exactly right. It gets under your skin.
For sure, and I think those two. I felt like there was a significant moment, the moments that they were having within the grand final, those big moments that they were winning. I think in a way there was that subtle passing of the torch from, say Renault and Hunty, and it was great to see them get their rings. But I felt like both of them, it wasn't their best games by their standards. But, seeing Walsh and Mam, who are basically would be viewed as the future of the club, they just took that game and just went, like, it was like they just went, we're going to win. We've got this. Doesn't matter who you take out. You can take Renault out. You can take Hunty out. Take whoever you want out. And we're just going to get the job done. And, like it's scary to think, I mean, even, looking forward, obviously we've only just finished this one, but, like, it's scary to think the side that they're building there, that roster, it's as dangerous as any roster I've ever seen.
Yeah, and we've touched on it in earlier episodes, like the amount of depth they've got and they're young and up and coming. So it'll be interesting to see in the next season or the season after if they end up bringing up that young Kobe Black, or how they go with it. But yeah, unfortunately for both Ben Hunt and Renault for getting injured in that one, but I think they're both just sort of getting towards the end of their career. I mean, Ben Hunt's it's a concussion, so it's not really an age thing there. But Renault continually doing hamstrings and soft tissue injuries. I think it's father time, and he's undefeated for a reason. And just quickly, I wanted to also say Adam Reynolds showed awesome amount of class there at the end, calling Billy Walters up to help him lift up the trophy. I think we both we've spoken about it. We felt a little bit bad for Billy being left out of the side there, especially with what he's done for the club over the last couple of years and all season. But yeah, didn't it just show the leadership and how much of a class act that Adam Reynolds actually is?
You know, I think Renault, you got to give him a lot of credit. You know, he come into this club when they were struggling at the time. You know, Kevy, also you got to give Kevy a bit of credit. You know, he's built this roster, you know, without the work and the groundwork that him and even Benny Eichen did when he was in there doing some salary cap management, like football manager sort of stuff. You know, this premiership, it doesn't just take one person. And I think Madge has come in and he sprinkled the sugar on top that they needed, the icing on the cake. And, you know, you've also got to say with Madge, you know, he was copping it left, right and centre this year for training him too hard and all of those sort of things. And I really liked his response. He was getting interviewed after the game and they said, oh, you know, you've been training him too hard and that this year. And he just said, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, well, they got a premiership, didn't they? So I guess, yeah, a lot of the critics were saying that early on in the season. And I guess early on in the season, they weren't in the greatest place. Like, I think around round 12 or something, we were outside of the 8. Like, it wasn't looking great for us. So obviously, whatever he did, he got the fitness there, because you've noticed that the team are going out there, and a lot of the time they're with those chasing down leads. That means they're able to play that full 80 minutes. That means they're fit. So obviously, whatever he's done, it's been the right call, because they wouldn't be chasing down these leads, which a lot of their big games this year that got them into that top 8 for the end were come from behind leads, and a lot of them were huge point leads, and record breaking come from behind second half leads.
Yeah, they really played the long game. You know, that there were so many times, you know, and there was that period early in the season where their form was really bad. You know, they got flogged by Manly at Brookie, and, you know, that was in that origin period, they were really struggling. They were missing Reese at the time. You know, they had Payne Haas playing busted, you know, and he played busted most of the year. Like, what a mammoth performance. You know, obviously his week before, like, he had just a 80-minute game. And I think Madge just needed to give him that rest this week just to, you know, have him there for that last 20. But, you know, him and Carrigan, like, you know, they're guys that, you know, they were there when the Bronx got the wooden spoon, you know, like I think Carrigan was saying that he actually, when they got that wooden spoon and a bunch of fans dropped wooden spoons off at Red Hill up there, and the footy manager was walking around picking them all up, and Paddy actually kept one, you know, to sort of remind him of that, like when he gets there and wins that trophy, you know. And there was a nice little, I shared up a post on our Instagram of Paddy when he was young with Petro and Webke, when they'd won the premiership, and then, you know, all these years later he gets to do it as a Broncos leader. And I just thought it typifies what the Broncos are all about. You know, they've always been a massive club in the NRL, you know, whether people love them or hate them, you know, they're on the bloody stock market, for God's sake, you know what I mean? So they're a massive, they're probably the biggest club in the NRL, and, you know, in the heart of Queensland. And, you know, they've had their challenges the last few years. They've had the Dolphins come into the comp. You know, you've got more Queensland teams there. They're taking up more of the sort of market share. And I just think, you know, this for the Broncos it's really, you know, these guys have etched themselves into history. You know, the likes of Carrigan and the likes of Walsh and Mam, they're now up there with the Lockie and, you know, Petro, Shane Webke. They're in the history books.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And as you've said, those guys that have been there from the get-go, from the building of this team, I feel like they really deserve it. Like, especially Carrigan. We've spoken about him countless times. He's just one of those guys. He's like a heart and soul of your team type guy. Just goes out every week, puts it on the line. Same with Tony Staggs. He's been there a while now, doing the same thing. Billy Walters, Payne Haas. I think they've just put it in for a lot of years, and a lot of the guys have taken pay cuts or stayed on the same pay, even when they've sort of been worth more or been offered more from other clubs, and committed to the cause, and that's how you get the premiership, I guess.
Yeah, no, definitely. And there's one other thing I just want to touch on is there's a lot of there's a lot of unsung heroes in this team that I think aren't going to get the credit of the Walshes and the Carrigans and that. But a guy like Shibasaki, 2 meat pies in a grand final, plays Origin this year. We're going to get into it later. Also named in the Kangaroo squad. I mean, what a season. We've touched on it before, coming from a train and trial deal to playing like that in the grand final, and some of his defense too, it's just, it's awesome to see. And, I think moving forward, he's put himself up there as a world-class centre now.
Yeah, definitely. And even with that bit of a off-field discrepancy that he had sort of late in the season there, I feel that he was disciplined quite harshly for that by Madge, but it seems he's taken it in stride, and I don't think you'll see that from him again for that exact reason. And it's good that he's turned around and made up for it. And like you said, there's a lot of unsung heroes in the team and in the staff that probably aren't going to get the recognition and the credit that some of those bigger name guys are. But a credit to all of them.
Yeah, and I think that's what the Broncos have always been about. You look back into their glory days. Yeah, they did have star-studded lineups, but they've always had them workers. They've always had a guy like a Sean Berrigan or a Tony Carroll or whatever that does all the tough, sort of gritty stuff. And even Webkey, I think he typified someone that did that. And I think it's really good to see that they're building back that culture. And I think when the Broncos are strong in the NRL is strong as a competition for it. So, just a couple of those other guys I did want to mention. I just thought the back five was just amazing. Like I thought Mariner and Karapani. But just on Mariner, that first try where he runs around the back, I mean, Jesus Christ, he must have been playing with Madge's emotions on that one, hey?
Tiptoeing on the line a bit there. I must say, I was screaming at him, under the post, go under the post.
Yeah. I mean, Harry Grant thought he's like, you better check that, and I'm thinking, oh shit, I hope he hasn't put a foot on the line here.
Yeah, and I think we've been a little bit one-sided. I don't think we've mentioned a Melbourne Storm player once, but testament to the Melbourne Storm. Didn't they put up a fight? We've sort of just been on the Broncos today because obviously they're very near and dear to our heart, with me supporting them all my life, you supporting them when you were younger, and Pop being one of the biggest Broncos supporter you'd ever meet. It's a testament to Melbourne Storm how hard they actually went out and fought this year, and it's unfortunate for those guys that they've lost a couple of grand finals in the years gone past, but I'm sure they'll get their moments again.
Yeah, well, no, you bring up a very good point there, and I think I really. I felt like it is unusual for a Melbourne Storm side to give up a lead the way that they did. But, I think it was just, you also got to give credit to the Broncos that they put the pressure on them to give that lead up, But, it also, they're going to be questioning themselves because they had some chances in that game. And they probably did let him slip, and guys like Munster, Harry Grant, Jerome Hughes, Pappy, they'd be their harshest critics, and and I think there's some moments there where they're probably very similar to a couple of years ago with the Broncos, that they're looking back and thinking, geez, if we just change that one moment. But that's the way it goes, and on the day I just felt like, it was one of them games where first half the Melbourne Storm got that lead, and then, with the Broncos, I really compare them to like almost a Bart Cummins trained horse in the Melbourne Cup. Madge had him just right so that at the length of the straight they could burst out and that's basically how the season played out for them. Early on, it was looking like they weren't even going to make the finish line. They were going to be packing their bags to Bali, and here they are. They're yahooing and celebrating a grand final, and I mean, they've obviously been getting out there some of the social media stuff. It's quite a laugh. Like old Buzz Rothfield copped a little bit from Jordan Ricky, which I thought was pretty funny, and Stefano copping a bit. But that's the thing. When you win, what's that old saying?
Say whatever you want.
That's it.
You win and you can say whatever you want.
That's it. What do they say that?
Buzz even said it on the 360 show. He looked dead in the camera and he said, "Look, I was wrong. They won the premiership."
Yeah. He's still like wanting to hold on to that about Madge training him too hard.
He's still holding on to that, but he at least he concedes that we won the premiership. And exactly like you were saying there, I think we touched on it a couple episodes ago. Like, yeah, they were really coming into good form in this end of the season period, and I sort of noticed it sort of the start, like maybe 2 weeks before the finals sort of thing. I was like, geez, the guys are really looking good out there. Like, they're not giving up. They're playing the full 80 minutes, and they're exactly, in good form.
Yeah, they really were, and you could see. I think that they've got those players that they have that bit of swagger, like your Ezra Mam, your Reece Walsh. They've got that healthy sort of people see it as cockiness, but they need that sort of confidence and that swagger. Like, I think you look at all the great players, they've always had that swagger, like Joey Johns, JT, the likes of them, like they've always had that confidence, and I think them. Coming into that back into the season, they did have a couple of tough games there. Like, I mean, I went to that Eels versus Broncos game, and there was even at that point, because of where the Eels were sitting on the ladder, I'm sort of thinking, the Broncos should be winning this game, But I think those couple of losses that they did have around that little period just before they, and it really all coincides with Reece Walsh on the toilet water, like whatever they put in that toilet water, it's just, it's got him the premiership. Like even Madge is in there having a drink out of the toilet water cup last week. So,
Yeah, I think there might have been some Forex in the toilet cup by that stage, matey.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. No, there was Forex and you name it. What else, but yeah, like it was, I just think, yeah, like overall, it was a real dream run at the end there of the season. And something else, just, I know we've glazed Reece Walsh heaps on this potty over the last 10 weeks or whatever it's been that he's been on this run. But, I've got to say, you had Benny Barber, he had a crazy season back in 2012. You had Jared Haney had that 09 run. You had Turbo have a great run. But the one thing they all didn't get was the premiership, and the one thing that Reece Walsh got was the premiership. So I think he just, that purple patch of form, we're going to look back on this in many years' time and go, geez, like, what wasn't that crazy when Walshy was playing like that?
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's one to go down in the Testament books for the ages.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, the other thing, really quickly, man, what about Queensland? What's in the water up here? You had the Lions win the grand final. You had the Broncos in the NRL and the NRLW, and Queensland won the State of Origin series. So we're both wearing Queensland shirts today too. So
yeah, that's it. I think, just showing our support for all the Queensland sides that won it this year.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it'll be before that happens again. It'll be a hard one.
Yeah,
I think
got to enjoy it when they come.
Yeah, that's it. You got to lap it up while you've got it. But I think, as you were saying, I think the little plumber mate's been putting something in the water there in Queensland, because we're definitely in good form this year.
Yeah, for sure. And we haven't really touched on it yet, but touch on it quickly. The girls' game, wasn't that a cracker of a game?
Yeah, it was awesome, man. And with it was good to get out to the early lead there, but then the Roosters to come from behind and get out in front of us, it just had me on the edge of my seat the entire time. So it was good to finally sort of come from behind and then seal that one again for the second time there. But yeah, just a cracker of a game, wasn't it?
Yeah, and when we touched off it a bit off camera earlier, but some massive hits there, and fractured cheekbones and eye sockets, and it was just carnage everywhere. Like it was
There's
it was quite
some
wild.
big collisions. It's almost as if the refs sort of let it go a little bit more. I don't know if it's just because they're women. They're like, oh, they're not going to hurt each other as much, or what goes through their mind. But they definitely let a bit more go, don't they?
Yeah, oh man, it was pretty crazy actually. I couldn't believe when I seen the face had blown up like a balloon, and she's still out there, and I'm thinking, oh, there's no HIAs or like but
I
what had
was
happened?
screaming at the TV because I was chatting to some mates at the time, sort of just like watching it off to the side over here. And I was screaming. I was like, what? There's three girls and their faces are all bloody, like they've all just got boulders hanging out the side of their faces. And I was absolutely gobsmacked that no one was going off for HIAs. Like,
Oh man, it was crazy. And just quietly, the plastic surgeon sitting there going cha-ching, like like after footy, I think there'll be a few plastic surgeons getting their bag out of that one.
As if he hasn't gotten enough out of Isabel Kelly already.
Yeah, nah, but and I mean, Hafanga, the centre there for the Broncos, didn't she do some damage? And she's always been a player I've enjoyed watching, and she's off to the Warriors now too. So she gets her grand final at the Broncos, and then she's going over to the Warriors next year, I believe.
Yeah. With she also got the Karen Murphy medal. That's the
the
centre.
Yeah,
she
won.
Melee
She won the best on ground. Yeah.
Awesome performance from her, both attack and defence. But some of those runs, she's just unstoppable, isn't she? I was when I was watching it, I was saying to my mates, I was like, I wouldn't be able to stop this Sheila. If she run it at me, she would run straight over the top of me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I almost compare her to a bit of like a Conrad Hurrell sort of type, or like just has that. She has that sort of like almost she could play in the forwards easily, but just so dangerous out on the edge, and smaller players out there tackling her. And I mean, I got to give it up. I can't remember who was on that edge, whether it was Kelly or Surgis, but they had a tough time out there just trying to contain her.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah. Yeah, no, sweet, man. Well, I guess the one other thing, we'll get into touching on, obviously end of the season now, so, a bit of post-NRL season blues, but we've got a couple of series coming up. We've got the Pac Champs, which is New Zealand, Tonga, Samoa, and I can't remember if Fiji and the Cook Islands are in that. But anyway, that's that series coming up. And we'll get into that a little bit more next week. But they've named some really good sides with that. The Tonga side especially. We'll get into that a bit next week. But there's some really good talent going into those Pacific Nations sides. And I think, there's a potential there to grow the international game, which is something we'll probably start to talk a bit more on this podcast about, because I think there's a real growth area for the game there.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Yeah, some of the talent in those sides it's going to be an interesting competition. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, for sure. And and we've also got for the first time in I think it's 20 years, we've got the Kangaroos touring England for 3 tests over there against the Poms. So
yeah, the Ashes, the rugby league Ashes.
Yeah, it's. I'll just get the side up here quickly. The squad. So basically, the squad that we've got here is we've got Blake Brayley, Patrick Carrigan, Nathan Cleary, Xavier Coates, but he's actually just been replaced by the Fox, Addo Carr. He's out with an injury. You've got Lindsay Collins, Reuben Cotter, Angus Crichton, Tommy Dearden, Dylan Edwards, Tino, Harry Grant, Colin Matungi, Bradman Best, Mitchell Moses, Cameron Munster, Marky Mark, Jacob Preston, Shibasaki, Lindsay Smith, Katoni Staggs, Ethan Strange, Reece Walsh, Isaiah Yeo, the captain, and Hudson Young.
Isn't it an insane squad?
Oh, man. And, there's a few injuries, few guys out with injuries even still, So, yeah, it's going to be, they've taken some halfbacks. I don't think they'll have to worry about any halfbacks going down. There's about 4 or 5 halfbacks in the squad.
Yeah, they definitely don't have a shortage of a spine there, do they?
It's, well, and I mean, speaking of that, I guess, let's play a little game here. Like, for the first test, who's your strongest spine, you think?
That's difficult. I'd probably go Walshy in the number 1, Tommy Dearden in the number 6, Nathan Cleary in the 7, and Harry Grant in the 9.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, no, for sure. I'd probably make one change there. I'd put Money in at the 6.
Oh, yeah.
For Tommy Dearden.
Good call. Yep.
Tommy Dearden's me utility off the bench. Bring a bit of energy. Come on, play a bit of hooker if he needs to. Play as an extra ball player, like a lock sort of roving role, similar to what Cooper Cronk used to do in the Origin.
And Munster is a specialist 6, so I guess that would probably be the ideal way to run it.
I mean, there's also an argument there, and obviously it's hard for me to comment on it because there's an obvious bias there. But even looking at it objectively, I think Mitchell Moses
had some huge big game performances, hasn't he?
That's it. And, obviously I think it's Cleary's to lose because, if Cleary has a bit of a shocker in any of the games, you've got Mitchell Moses sitting on the sideline there. It's he's not just there for no reason. Like Kevy's obviously seen something in, his game. And I think probably Cleary gets the nod just because of the dominance of the Panthers. But you've also got to look at Moses. He doesn't have half the tools that Cleary's got in his team. Like Cleary's got, some guns in that team, whereas, the Eels are still a very young roster this year. They're only building, they're quite a young team. I think, yeah.
Well, in saying that though, Kevy's picked a couple of your Eel players in the squad. Like you've got Fox, Lomax, and Moses are all in there. So I think he's definitely seen something from those guys this year. So Kevy's one of those guys that he would have watched every game this year, and he would have been watching every player in every position. And I feel like if he's picked those 3 players to come along for the squad, obviously there's some talent that he sees in him. And I do see what you're saying. There's definitely an argument to be made for Mitchell Moses getting that number 7 jersey.
Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah, I think I'd really like to see Kevy, do well with this, and I think he's got the Raging Bull over there. He's going to be the culture. He's on the staff. He's going to be the culture guy. So, yeah,
what's
just
the culture?
careful.
Toe the line, or I'll knock you the fuck out.
I mean, I'd be a bit careful over there. Like, you get a few. Get a few 4Xs if you can get 4X over in England. But
get a couple bitters in the Raging Bull.
Yeah, get him in the one of them pommy pubs and a couple of them big pints. I think start to get a bit wild out there.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But I think it's going to be an interesting time for the Kangaroos. The Poms, I did see a thing of their coach, and he came out and they put a little clip up on the socials there, and he was really pumping the boys up. And there's going to be, I'm pretty sure there's a few, NRL players that'll be playing in the Pommy side. You've got Herbie, obviously, if he's fit, he'll be
Radley
be in there.
Will probably play as well, won't he?
I think he would have been playing, but he got in the shit over that. There was a bit of a scandal at the end of the year there.
Yeah.
So
My bad.
He got a bit of. I think otherwise he would have been in there. You're right, but but there is a few like NRL caliber players there, and and I think the other thing is the Poms will be pretty hungry. They haven't had a test against Australia for a while, and obviously on home soil over there, you're playing at the big grounds like Wembley, and some of them, and the English fans, man, they just, whether it's soccer or whether it's rugby league, doesn't matter. But it's such a different atmosphere to over here. Like over here, I think. You hear a lot of the time, you go to the footy and you'll get a bit of noise and that when things happen. But for the most part, we sit there and watch the game and we're silent while it's happening. And then if something happens, we go up. Whereas they're just singing the whole bloody time.
Sorry to cut you off. They've got their chants and their war cries and all sorts of things they do. They literally go as far as sledging and griefing players while they're on the pitch. So the support. The support for any sport over there, it's good. And I really like that culture and that atmosphere around sport, and I wish we saw a little bit more of it here.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's going to be a real, you've obviously this year as well, they've got the Ashes in the cricket. So it's going to be quite good that you've got the rugby league, you've got the sort of winter sport playing against the English, and then you've also got the English coming out to Australia to play in the Ashes in the summer as well. So, just that rivalry between England and Australia is just going to be bubbling away there for the next few months. And, that's always some of these rivalries, like England, Australia, New Zealand, Tonga, Samoa, like these sort of rivalries, especially in sport, that just builds, it just builds that hype and energy and gets people interested in talking about it,
Exactly. I think that's what sport's all about. That's what makes sport fun to watch is that hype around your team or those rivalries of the teams that you don't want to play. Like with us going into this grand final, Melbourne Storm was one of the teams I really didn't want to be playing in the grand final. Just considered them a huge voodoo side, and massive relief to get one over them.
Speaking of rivalries in Australia, we might jump into our Mount Rushmore for this week. And this week we've got Australian icons.
Yeah, man. Awesome. It's going to be a good little list. Do you want me to send it first or do you want to take it away?
Yeah, you kick it off, bro. Yep.
Okay. So we had a bit of a conversation around this one, and I wasn't sure if we were going for more world-renowned or guys that were known around Australia, so I went for more world-renowned ones. So, Number 1, Steve Irwin, Crocodile Hunter. Number 2, Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, Les Miserables, whatever else he's done.
Definitely, bro. Yeah, he's very iconic.
Yeah. Number 3.
And also, sorry, just quickly, also massive Manly Sea Eagles fan too.
Big rugby league supporter, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, doesn't mind a bit of rugby league.
Yeah. So he's got his head screwed on, that's right. Number 3, this is probably my more Australian known one, but I'm sure fans from overseas probably have heard of him. So Ned Kelly.
Yeah.
And number 4, throw another shrimp on the barbie, Paul Hogan.
Yeah, man. Awesome. Love it. Solid list there, bro.
Yeah,
Some knock around Aussie icons.
Some true ockers, mate.
So same as you, Steve Irwin, top of the list,
Hard
iconic.
to go past, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was a young fella, I just loved watching that. Like, love watching animal sort of docos and things like that as well. But, just the delivery he had in such a crazy way, like sitting in the bushes while there's a bloody Komodo dragon or a crocodile walking around, dead set maniac. But
when he used to come on the footy show.
Yeah.
Wasn't that awesome?
Remember that one where he'd come on and he had that big ass snake and it shit on
the Burmese python. I think that was a prank in the end. I believe they didn't have like a bag. Yeah, I believe it was a bag of peanut butter or something like that. Like peanut butter that heated in the microwave. And then when he put his hand there, I think he squeezed it down onto. Was it Sterlo or Fatty?
I think it was Fatty. Yeah, they got him. They got him that time. And
they got him a perler with it.
And there was also, I can't remember if it was a footy show or it was another show, but they had that one and he's like, oh, he's got that snake and he's like, oh yeah, they don't really bite. Next minute he bites him on the neck.
That was on his own show. It turned around and got him right on the top lip. He's like, this little fella, whack.
There's some, so just iconic and, so crazy in the end that he ends up getting done by a stingray, like I still remember the day coming home from school and, it's tragic news.
I think every Australian alive at that time remembers that day. It was one of them ones. It was you'd liken it to like the 9/11 in America. It was just one of those days that everyone remembers where they were when they found out what they were doing. Sort of, it was huge and it rocked the nation.
Yeah, definitely, man. Second on the list, I've got Kathy Freeman. Awesome. Her 2000s Olympics, that was just, again, goosebumps. And also just quickly, we've got a bit of a family connection to Kathy Freeman that I'd sort of forgotten about until recently. But our cousin Konomi, who's not with us anymore, but she actually she was a real mentor to her growing up with her athletics and stuff.
Yeah, right. That's wild. I didn't know that myself.
Yeah, there was actually a photo that Pop used to have on the wall of Konomi and Kathy Freeman together.
Yeah, right. That's awesome.
So she was a really talented, really talented runner, and just athletics in general.
Yeah, well, that's crazy to find out, and rest in peace to Konomi and the rest of the family.
Third on the list, Shane Warne. Again, some of the stuff he'd do, like he'd go out there on a cricket field, take 6 wickets, and then go off at halftime for a meat pie and a durry. So
can't live without Warnie.
Like he was holding it down for all the Aussies when he got with Liz Hurley. Yeah, again, rest in peace to Warnie as well.
Yeah, again, and I think it's just sings to the culture in Australia. You've got these guys that are massive sporting heroes or massive icons on TV, but they're also just such a character and such a larrikin, and the personality that they bring to whatever it is they're doing. Like we're really a breed of our own down here, aren't we?
Well, that's the thing. We call each other the "see you next Tuesday" as a term of endearment. So, Americans and the Englishmen and that, they look at us and go, "What the hell are these bloody guys talking about?" But it's we've got our own slang, we've got our own style, and that's the way we like it. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Last on the list, same as you, the crocodile hunter, Paul Hogan. Just iconic.
Yeah,
iconic.
And one of those guys that's just known around the world. I think that ad back in the early 90s or shrimp on the Barbie ad. I think that's an iconic saying, and we don't even call them shrimp.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? The amount of people, I don't know about you, but the amount of foreigners I've met over the years, and they all say that, and we're just like, we don't even call them that, it's hilarious, but yeah, super iconic, and like, I love that in that, what's he saying that, in the Crocodile Dundee, and he's like, oh, that's not a knife, that
this
scene.
This is a
that
knife,
classic scene. Yeah. Yeah, just again, just classic, and some of those movies and that, used to love them. Awesome shit.
Yeah, man, and especially the movie where he goes over to America. Like the cultural
that's the one.
Shift.
With his mate,
his mate goes over there. I think that might be the next one after.
Oh, okay.
I think the first one he goes over there by himself. I think the next one after he gets his mate over there with him, and they're like walking around towns.
Yeah. And the missus is just like, what the hell, eh? Like, she's just like the whole time.
She knew what she signed up for, eh? When she walked into that pub and he come in wrestling a croc, she knew what she was in for.
That's it, eh? Yeah, no, for sure. No, well, yeah, we're sort of got a nice Aussie list there, and leading into this sort of, this is prime Australian time of the year where it gets hot, and I mean it's just that time, getting to that time of the year where everyone just comments and just says, "Oh, bloody, how hot is it?" That's pretty much what you hear when you talk to people.
Yeah, everyone for the next couple months, I think that's going to be the new way of saying hello. It's just, oh, how hot is it?
Yeah, like I think we're pretty much that's a wrap for this week. Just actually one thing I did want to just quickly touch on, because there's been a lot of stories coming out about it, and we touched on it maybe a month ago on this podcast or whatever. But the R360, they seem to be going quite hard for a lot of players at the moment. Like Zach Lomax has been rumored to have agreed to a deal. You've got Payne Haas. There's some big money getting thrown around for Payne Haas, like $3 million a season and stuff like that. So just a quick to touch on that. Does that sort of, as a rugby league fan, does that sort of concern you that there might be that code coming in to pinch some of our top stars in the code?
Well, look, I've seen a little bit about it. Like I've sort of done a little bit of research on it, and I think a lot of people are sort of in the same mindset of that for them to come in and do what they ultimately want to do and get a lot of the audience over to watch their brand of rugby league, they're going to need to get some huge name stars. And I don't know if they're going to be able to come up with that money and be able to pay everyone. Like, where's all this money going to come from? Is it just going to be privately funded and someone's just going to fork out all these millions of dollars for these players? Or is it going to be a thing of players are going to go over there and not be getting paid?
Well, I think the thing is with the Saudis, they definitely are loaded in cash, because we've seen that. We've talked about that with the boxing, with Canelo and stuff, the money that they are offering. And the thing is I think it all stems around what they're trying to do. And apparently with this competition, it's not just going to be played over there. It's going to be played in Japan and all these places. It's like a fly in, fly out type of situation. Yeah. But the thing is they are trying to bring tourism to Saudi Arabia, like with a lot of this stuff. And the one thing they do have over there is they've got big oil money. They've got money that probably over here makes our top 1%, people that are the richest 1% over here, it makes them look like chump change. So, but at the same time, as a business model, Peter V'landys has described it as a business model out of a Kellogg's box. So, but
yeah,
is
exactly
that just
right?
Yeah, is that it? I also think there's a bit of maybe paranoia and stuff starting to set in, because it is quite scary to think that they could come over and pinch a lot of our stars.
Yeah, well, look, it could very well happen, and I guess that they had it way back when with the Super League coming in and sort of separating it up there for a bit. But I think a lot of the guys that play NRL, they've probably got that sense of owing to the NRL. Like the NRL's brought them in from that grassroots level and given them their platform and their stage and treated them well up until this point. For them to just turn their back on that and go, oh, I'm just going to go here because it's more money. Like it's definitely a threat, because at the end of the day, they're going to want to look after themselves and their family. But I feel like as Australians, we have a fair bit of loyalty and a fair bit of integrity to us as a whole. So I don't know. It'll be one of them wait and see type things, but I can see a lot of the bigger name players staying.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, I guess I just look at it from that side of the coin, where you have a guy like Payne Haas. He's played Origin, he's played representative football for
got his
countries.
Ring.
He's got his ring. Does he go over there for 2 years? Earn $6 million? The other thing is there's no tax over there. Like they're pretty much any sort of gains and stuff. They don't. Even with the guys that are into crypto, they go over to places like Dubai and stuff. If they set up residency over there, you're not paying all this capital gains tax and things like that.
So Cayman Islands, etc.
Yeah, so you have that situation as well. But I mean, just for me, like I do think that the game suffered a lot through the Super League era, as you brought up, and something just touching on that, a bit of a tangent, but I've always thought that that'd be a perfect thing to make as like a biopic, like that whole Super League, like a TV series or something, because some of the shit that was happening back then, where you had blokes going into back doors and getting offered money that at that time had never
hand
even
over
been
fist
seen.
money. Yeah.
You had all sorts of people going in the middle of the night, and they were, there was all sorts of, dark underworld negotiating tactics going on at the time. And I think, I guess, I wouldn't like to see a repeat of that where we have like this, I already feel like in the NRL we have it too much where a guy signs a contract for 4 years and the next year you can't do a good deal anymore as a club. You sign someone on a decent contract under salary, you look at Shibasaki. What do you think his next contract's going to be? It ain't going to be chump change like it was,
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the whole thing with managing a salary cap and managing a side of a rugby league football side. That's the part that goes into it that I guess we don't see is getting those players for a good buy and going, all right, so we see some potential in this guy, and he might only be worth 150, or he might be worth 100 this year, but if we offer him 150, which is a bit more than he's worth this year, over a 4-year period, we can secure him, and then by the time he's in his third and his fourth season, he's a 300 or 600,000 a year player. And I think that's how you build a roster to get a grand final or to get a premiership.
Definitely. And that is smart salary cap management. But, it's becoming harder and harder for clubs to do that, because as soon as they get a guy locked into a decent deal, the next year their manager wants to agitate, negotiate. I mean, it happened with Lockie Galvin. He just signed a deal, I think it was last year, and then the manager wants to hold the club over hot coals. In the end, the club ends up having to say, oh, piss off, because you don't want to be here, because it ends up becoming destabilising for the playing roster when you've got a guy coming in there kicking stones. They don't want to train. All sorts of stuff starts happening. And, I think you look at it the other way as well. When a club wants to get rid of a player, they piss them off as quick as they can as well. But I just... I'm not saying, I know it's a business and I know that the loyalty card's sort of gone, but, I do think you should be able to do a decent deal.
There potentially should be a clause in there or a new ruling or something that if a player has signed a contract with a club, for them to get an early release, there might have to be a cooling off period or something like that, where they're not allowed to sign with another club for a certain amount of time. But then you could have where you see guys going overseas and signing overseas to play. That could even push them to those other competitions.
All right, man, we might as well jump into sleepers, eh?
Sounds good to me, bro. I'll kick it off this week, eh?
Good,
so I've got guy from Australia, pretty sure he's a Gold Coast lad, so Don Drino, I promise.
Nice. Shout out to the GC.
I promise I'm getting money, I promise you gotta kill me if you wanna get it from me, I promise I get it in a packet for me, I promise I'm not scared to catch a body, I promise I trap heavy, I promise I grind out I promise if you're fucking with me then it's lights out, I promise I can send a kite down, I promise if you want it you can get it right now. Yeah, we got the most work and my phone keeps chirping. I got the shit to sell, I'm being honest. When I say we're popping shit first, she just want a Birkin, she just want Balenciaga runners. Used to run her with that broom for that debt, now I'm running up the numbers and I'm sweeping up the money. You can see through the tech, all she do is give me neck, when she's on the bobby and the subby. And I promise, I move weight like a fucking forklift. And I'm on it, swerving on pharmacy bricks, 12k tucked up in my whip. I push it and I promise I'm fucking on your bitch. I put a laser under that boy's stick. Just in case a dog hiding in the dark in the shady parts of where I dip. You can't fuck with me.
Yeah, sweet as, bro. Well, I figured this week with the Broncos winning the grand final, I'm going to go with an old classic from a classic Brisbane hip-hop group that I had a lot to do with coming up, and that's the Optimum with Boomtown.
Nice.
Featuring Robbie Balboa and Ramen.
Yeah. Shout out to Sam and all those guys too.
Yeah, for sure. Boomtown represent.
get drowned out. Boomtown, out of towners about to get found out. Bring it raw to your jaw like a smack in the mouth. Then when you're about to turn it out without a shadow of doubt. Boomtown, all other sounds get drowned out. Boomtown, out of towners about to get found out.
Bound for found the best around. No way you can get up when I get down.
This is Boomtown, steady booming. What did you expect? We straight set slamming, bass boom booming like respect. Get more respect. Isn't it ironic, Miss Morissette? When I bust a rhyme like hip hop and get you all in check. From Quebec to Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, we take it back on some Beastie Boys rap screaming. It's that nonchalant cat you might have seen around the city, inconspicuously shopping for new kicks specifically. Nikes on my feet make the cipher complete image of an original b-boy behind the line of scrimmage. Criminal minded, my intuition is street science with Ramen and Robbie Balboa in the Alliance.
Yeah, we go for boom or bust. We bring you boom town. The room or the shrooms that makes the room move around.
Oh my God.
Your applause, trip the mic, cord and loose.
Awesome, bro. Well, yeah, I mean, first episode as a premiership, with the premiership in the bag. So, yeah, we're 10 down now, bro. We're going to have to start counting on our toes. We've ran out of fingers.
Yeah, a bit of a milestone episode. You're going to have to take me socks off next week.
No, for sure, man. No, well, yeah, I think next week we're probably going to have a little break, recalibrate, and then we'll be back the week after to sort of jump into the Pacific Champs and the Kangaroo Tour.
Yeah, awesome, man. Awesome. Isn't it crazy
Sweet
how
as,
quick
brother.
we've stacked up 10 too?
Oh man, we're flying through them, and we really appreciate everyone that's been tuning in. Whether they're loving, hating, we love it all. We don't care. Like we just happy to be doing it.
Yeah, and put your guys' Mount Rushmores in the comments below. We want to see what your guys' Aussie icons are.
100%, bro.
Awesome,
Sweet
man.
as.
Cheers, guys.
Peace.